Imagine a royal feast in the 14th century. Lutes are playing, tables overflow with game, yet meat isn't the star. The cook serves a thick white sauce, delicate jellies, and golden sweets, almost all of it made from almonds. In an age when sugar was outrageously expensive and cow's milk spoiled fast, this nut became Europe's culinary backbone. But why almonds? Was it just about taste? Or was there a deeper system behind it? Religious rules, complex trade, even hidden danger? Today, we toss almonds into a latte, but to a medieval mind, they were a ticket to culinary heaven, a loophole in church law, and something that could both heal and kill. To uncover the secret of almonds, we must look into the plates of kings and monks, where a simple nut became something far greater than just food. But before it ever reached the table, it had to pass the era's most relentless censor, the Christian calendar. The Lenten loophole, holy milk. Medieval Europe lived by the sound of church bells, and that rhythm shaped what people ate. Around 150, sometimes up to 180, days a year were fasting days. During these periods, all animal-based dairy and eggs were strictly outlawed by the church. For a cook, that was a problem. How do you thicken soup? Make a sauce feel rich? The answer came from the Arab world. Almond milk became the perfect legal substitute. Since it was entirely plant-based, the church had no grounds for any objections. Cookbooks of the time are saturated with almonds. They went into blancmange, Lenten porridges, even mock scrambled eggs. This wasn't an attempt to trick God. Instead, it showcased a chef's supreme skill, crafting a magnificent feast without breaking a single religious canon. Almonds let the elite keep their comforts, even in the most austere seasons. But that kind of diet depended on a steady supply, turning almonds into one of the most profitable and complex global trades of the time. White gold, the nut that ruled trade. Almonds were a product of early globalization. While northern Europe froze, groves from Sicily to Andalusia and Provence were truly flourishing. For merchants in Venice and Genoa, they were the perfect commodity. Unlike grain, which could rot in damp holes, dried almonds in their shells traveled remarkably well. They were transported in massive quantities, flowing deep inland along the continent's vital river arteries. Oil is just a metaphor, but economically, almonds acted like hard currency. In London or Paris, their price could be 10 times higher than in southern markets. That created a huge divide in access. Around the Mediterranean, almonds were everyday food. In the north, they became a status symbol. Owning a stockpile of almonds in 15th century Germany meant belonging to the upper class, wealthy enough to pay for the labor of hundreds of sailors and merchants. Yet, this geographical divide created a paradox. While almonds were a supreme luxury at one end of Europe, they remained a humble food for the poor at the other. The almond line, a map of class. Medieval Europe wasn't one uniform world. The almond map was sharply divided. In Spain, southern France, and Italy, almond trees grew everywhere, often in the wild, lining the roads and hillsides in abundance. For peasants, a handful of nuts meant protein and fat in a bad year, almost like a weed, no care required. Here, almonds fed the poor, but the farther north you went, the more their meaning changed. In Scandinavia and Poland, they ranked alongside pepper and ginger. Served as precious treats, they were sprinkled sparingly into grand festive dishes. This created a curious cultural clash. A southerner might wonder why a northern lord would treasure a mere sack of nuts, when back home, they were nothing more than common feed for pigs. The almond became an indicator of just how far you were from the warm shores of the south. But regardless of the price, every nut had a darker side, hidden within its chemical makeup and its distinctively bitter aftertaste. Marzipan poison, the bitter truth. Medieval people weren't naive. They knew the difference between almond types. Sweet ones were food, bitter ones were medicine. Bitter almonds are unique due to their amygdalin content, which releases deadly cyanide when broken down. In tiny doses, however, physicians of the time used it as a medicine to treat shortness of breath or various skin conditions, but the margin was razor thin. That danger fueled stories of poisoning. While historians today doubt almonds were a primary weapon for assassins, the scent of cyanide linked this nut to dark secrets and royal intrigue. Almonds in a glass of wine raised immediate suspicion. Was it a costly spice or an attempt to mask the bitter taste of poison? This dual nature, from sacred fasting milk to lethal extract, made almonds the most talked about ingredient in any castle kitchen. If they were feared in the kitchen, in the secret laboratories of alchemists, Almonds were hailed as the ultimate key to the transformation of matter. Alchemy and medicine, the sacred nut. To a medieval scholar, the almond was a microcosm. Its structure, a hard shell and a soft, nourishing core, served as the perfect metaphor for the human soul hidden within the mortal body. Alchemists used almond oil as a neutral base for their experiments, believing it had the power to absorb the very essence of other substances. In medicine, almonds were seen as balanced and gentle, ideal for regulating the body's humors, its vital fluids. They treated everything from headaches to insomnia. Almond oil also formed the essential base for ointments designed to soothe and calm the nerves. Monasteries grew almonds as both food and pharmacy. Hardly any medical treatise of that era could afford to ignore its mention. The nut was considered a noble food, capable of purifying the body and granting clarity of mind, provided it was consumed with the proper reverence. But its refinement showed not just within, it shaped beauty itself. Smelling like wealth, medieval luxury. The myth that medieval people didn't care about cleanliness has long been debunked by historians. Self-care was an essential part of life for the elite, and almonds played a key role here. Almond milk and oil were essential components in the creation of cosmetics. In an era where a tan was seen as a sign of peasantry, pale porcelain skin was the absolute ideal of beauty. Almond emulsions helped soften the skin after washing with harsh water, and according to beliefs of the time, helped remove freckles and spots. In major trade hubs like Marseille, the first samples of soap began to appear, where almond oil was added for its delicate touch. The scent of almond became the scent of purity and status. If someone smelled of bitter almond and roses, it signaled wealth, imported luxury, and time for elaborate rituals. But while in cosmetics almonds helped emphasize natural paleness, at royal feasts they became an instrument of total visual deception, turning an ordinary dinner into a daring illusion. Edible illusions. Food as power. Medieval haute cuisine was obsessed not only with taste but also with visual mystifications. Royal chefs competed in transformation, and almonds were their sculpting clay. Thanks to its ability to be transformed into a thick, pliable paste, the ancestor of modern marzipan, almonds allowed for the creation of entire worlds on the table. Realistic figures of deer were molded from it, as well as fruits that turned out to be meat pâté, and they even imitated forbidden foods during days of fasting. The most popular trick was the creation of almond eggs. Chefs would clean out the shells of real eggs and fill them with a jelly made from almond milk, while a mixture of almonds and saffron played the part of the yolk. It was a game of mind and senses. The guests saw the forbidden fruit, but ate plant-based food permitted by the church. Almonds made it possible to turn a meal into theater, where the line between reality and fiction was blurred. In an era where status was marked by complex decor, transforming a nut into something like a golden apple or fried fish was valued more than culinary skill itself. This was the high point of almond fashion, where the product finally ceased to be mere food and transformed into a tool of political and cultural dominance. But how did it happen that this grandiose empire of taste and imitation, built over centuries, suddenly collapsed with the arrival of the modern age? The fallen empire, a new era. By the late 15th century, the world began to expand. The age of discovery brought products to Europe that people previously could not even have dreamed of. But the decisive blow was dealt by the Reformation. In Protestant countries, the tradition of strict fasting was abolished, and the urgent need to replace cow's milk with plant-based alternatives vanished. Almonds didn't disappear, but they ceased to be a spiritual necessity. They returned to their natural role, an exquisite treat and a confectionery ingredient. Marzipans and pralines became the heirs to the vast empire of taste that almonds had built during the Middle Ages. Today, when we buy almond milk at the supermarket, we aren't starting a revolution. We are simply returning to an old European tradition. The secret of almonds lay not in mystical properties, but in their incredible versatility. They were a bridge between cuisine, religion, and economics, allowing people to remain faithful to their beliefs without giving up pleasure. The Middle Ages were obsessed with it because almonds provided a choice where there almost was none. Almond milk was a brilliant legal loophole that allowed medieval people to observe strict fasts without depriving themselves of comfort. Modern marketers have elegantly intercepted this ancient trend, turning plant-based milk into a symbol of conscious consumption. Do you add a little almond twist to your latte? Let us know in the comments. But almond milk is just the tip of the iceberg. Want to know why the stories about rotten meat are a myth and why medieval fast food was more popular than ours? Watch the video on medieval cuisine.